Hey, Haruka, I have a question for you. Do you ever meditate?
Only occasionally. I know it's very good for your mental health, but I forget all the time. Do you?
I do, but not in the most traditional or usual way. Like I don't sit in silence very often. I do that too sometimes, but I'll meditate either by going through a guided meditation, like a voice, someone telling me, to relax your shoulders and your focus on your breathing, etc. Or I meditate at other times, like when I'm doing the dishes. I just focus on just the act of the water going over my hands or cleaning the dishes. And, that's a form of meditation to me.
Do you feel much better after that?
I feel calmer. I certainly feel more relaxed. Yeah, I feel like when I do that, my mind usually is going very fast, and it's a good way to kind of slow it down and bring it back to a more tolerable way of thinking.
Is meditation similar to zoning out?
I guess, but to me, zoning out is like letting your mind wander, whereas meditation, you're bringing it to a single focal point.
I see. Um, Actually, I remember that I have used this app called Undo. It's a very simple, like 3 minutes or whatever minutes you choose, and it starts with a bamboo sound, and I like it, and I feel much calmer after that meditation.
Yeah, I have the same app. I that is the one time I will do a kind of silent meditation. I'll use that app because it, like you said, there's this bamboo sound at the beginning and a kind of gong at the end, but it's just silent in between. So, other than meditation, what else do you do when you get stressed out?
Recently, I do try to do deeper breathing, inhale and exhale, and also looking at the window, mountains, skies, feeling the breeze. They are all very calming to me. How about you?
If I get stressed out or if I'm like unhappy, I try to think about other people. Like, what could I do for someone else to make them happy? Like, how could I surprise someone? Something like that.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah, I guess. It helps me because if I don't do that, I will probably focus too much on whatever's making me unhappy or stressed out. But if I put my attention on someone else, uh, that that makes me happy.
I love that way of thinking. I will try that. I know you love Zen, the concept of Zen. When did you start learning it?
I started learning about Zen philosophy when I was in college.
In college?
Yeah, Zen's not really a religion, but I've studied it in a religion class. It comes from Buddhism originally.
Was it a Japanese teacher?
No, but it was an Asian studies teacher, so he was an expert in Asian religions.
And what was the concept of Zen by that teacher?
Well, it's difficult to explain, but Zen is basically about appreciating the little moments in life and being in the present moment. A lot of times we think about the future or we spend a lot of time thinking about the past. Zen is mostly about trying to be in the right now.
Sounds like mindfulness.
It's very close to that. Mindfulness is discussed a lot in Zen philosophy.
So, is there a way to be good at Zen, or what I can do to?
I think I understand your question. You know, there is no good or bad about it. It's really like, do you like taking a walk in nature sometime?
I love it.
Yeah, me too. And I think that in essence is Zen, is just appreciating the beauty in nature, or the wind on your face, or, the sound of the birds in the trees. It sounds a little corny, but appreciating that moment in time, that's basically Zen.
So if I'm enjoying this conversation right now, that means I am in Zen.
Sure. In essence, if you're in this moment as we speak, that's a form of Zen appreciation.
Is that possible that I would be in Zen all the time if I'm able to enjoy every moment of my life?
That's a great question. I think it's sort of impossible to constantly be present. It's a good goal to aim for, but it's sort of like an unattainable goal, like a goal that you can't ever get to, because your mind is at some point going to think about tomorrow or remember something from the past.
How much of a day do you think you are in the Zen moment?
I've never calculated it like that. I don't know. Because I catch myself all the time thinking too much about the future, or reliving a memory for too long, and then when I catch myself, I bring my focus back to what I'm doing at the present moment.
Sometimes I focus so much and I feel like I'm in the zone, but it's different from Zen.
Well, I don't really want to define it, because that's the paradox, or the kind of confusing thing about Zen. The more and more you try to define it, really the further away you get from it. It's not something that there are like rules that are written down and you follow these rules. It's really more about just being alive, and acknowledging that, appreciating that.
Well, maybe we can both go to the Zen garden and see how it works.
That's good. I would love to talk to like a Zen monk or something.
Mark, you have a podcast, right?
Yes, I do.
What's your podcast about?
It's called Zen Sandwich, but it's sort of about Zen, but I cast the net pretty wide, so I talk about a lot of different topics.
Like what?
Well, I've had guests on there from MMA fighters, if you know what an MMA fighter is, mixed martial arts fighters, to artists and musicians. I've had a famous photographer, pretty much any kind of career field you can imagine.
How many episodes have you done so far?
Well, I've done about 46 or 47 so far.
Is it hard work to produce one?
It's a lot more work than I thought. When I started the project of doing a podcast, I thought that it was going to be turning on a microphone and just recording people talking, and that'd be it. But there is so much more to it, from sound editing, video editing, if I record the video of an interview, to marketing. There's a lot more to it than I thought.
How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it for about 7 months now.
7 months. All right. And what made you think, starting a podcast?
Well, originally I had a website that was a kind of blog. I wrote articles, or I would get some people I knew to write articles for it, and from that I thought, well, I would rather record a conversation than write an article, and I enjoy listening to podcasts, so I thought, why not? So the blog turned into the podcast.
So, do you love it?
Yes, I mean, it's one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done as a personal project. Although, like I said before, it involves so much extra work. I don't love everything about it. I don't love marketing it, but I do love the creation part of it.
Before becoming a podcaster, what were you doing?
Well, I used to be a lawyer, and I also used to teach at a university.
It's a multi-talented personality.
Well, I guess I didn't love those things as much as I do podcasting.
What other jobs have you done?
I've had lots of jobs over the years. I've worked in the restaurant business. I've worked for a plant nursery. I've worked at a hotel before. But my main career type jobs were being a lawyer or being a teacher, and I'm trying to turn podcasting into hopefully my final career.
So the experience as lawyer and teacher helping podcast?
Actually, yes. Being a teacher, because my podcast has a sort of education element to it. I teach people about Zen. So I certainly use some of my previous teaching skills in terms of organizing my thoughts into what I'm going to say as a tool for how I create a podcast episode.
If I wanted to start a podcasting, what advice would you give me?
To just do it. I think the starting part is the hardest for a number of reasons. One, people usually hate the sound of their own voice when they hear it recorded because it doesn't sound the same to them as it does in their head when they speak. Hearing your recorded voice, it always sounds funny to people. So you have to get used to that part. And it's a little nerve-wracking at first. You're a little nervous the first time you try it. But eventually, you get over all that stuff.
Do you interview people?
I do almost 50-50. Like half the time I interview someone, and the other half of the time it's just me. I just do a solo podcast.
For solo episode, how many hours would you spend as a preparation?
Well, I mean, from start to finish, it's maybe 10 hours on an episode. Because then I'll prepare for an hour. Recording it takes not just the amount of time of the episode, but I might have to record several times or re-record. Then I have to edit it. And then, of course, I've got to do the marketing. So, I'm just guessing, but maybe about 10 hours for a single episode.
Okay, here's another thing. It's a little bit impolite. What about looking at other people's monitor over their shoulder? Because you just mentioned the BTS. One thing I have to admit is because I don't have my phone out and I am looking around, I have a tendency to want to check and see what's on everybody's phone, and it's total intrusion. It's creepy in a way, but it's also because in Asia I'm a little bit taller than the average person, so I'm looking down and I can see everybody's monitor. Yeah. And do you ever find yourself doing that too?
I do, yeah. But like you, I think it's impolite.
Right. So you got to pull away. I know I shouldn't do it.
But do you know the worst thing with phones these days? The worst thing, from my point of view, is the amount of pictures that people take of themselves everywhere, on the BTS, on the subway, eating. I've been to S21 in Cambodia, where those poor people were slaughtered, basically. And there are people in front of pictures of these people who were killed, and they are just literally taking selfies of themselves. This world isn't about you.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just stop and look and listen.
Yeah, the selfie thing, I did a little bit. Sometimes I would do it almost like it's sending a postcard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, look, I'm here. But I have to admit, I don't really like doing it. Yeah. And
they take the shot again. I use selfies in a group because I think they're fun. It's actually quite fun to see one person in the front and the rest at the back.
Yes.
And it usually means I can get further back in the photograph. So that's always a good thing.
Oh, that's true. So, but that's good that you admit you do some selfies.
Yeah, with groups. And, if I'm taking a group in the class, I'll get one of them to take the photograph.
Yeah. What about the mild pet peeve of mine? Not a pet peeve, but people taking photos of their food. I don't know why it's a thing.
Why? Eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy it. Enjoy the memory. You know, it's interesting you said that about Cambodia. A group of women once said something that was really like just a spear in the heart. Really made me think. I was in Cambodia. This was years ago, and I was at Angkor at Batong Bayong, or I can't say it right, but where they have the beautiful face sculptures. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get a photo. And so there's a woman just sitting there, relaxed. She was maybe French or something. She was European, and she's like, oh, you want me to take your photo? And I go, yeah, yeah, yeah. So then she takes it. She takes my photo. This is before like cell phone cameras. And then I'm like, okay, I have to reciprocate. Like, oh, would you like me to take a photo of you? She's like, no. I'm like, you don't have a camera? She goes, no. And she just points at her head, and she taps her head like this, and she goes, it's all up here.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like,
That's
she was
amazing.
really kind of like,
Yeah.
politely saying, like, just, I'm never going to, and I've never forgotten how those things look.
Yeah.
I've never forgotten her sitting on the rock when she said that. So, wise advice, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, actually, you are in photography. Do you think that actually taking so many, I'm sorry, you have a photography business.
Yes.
Do you think that actually taking so many photographs lessens the value of the art of photography and really appreciating a good picture?
Yes, I think it does. And I think that a lot of the apps and the things that you can use these days to improve photographs take away the real skill of the photographer, using the light, using the lines, using what's in the photograph to make a really good shot. I think people miss that these days.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway, and so today, no using your phone.
No, I did hear it go bing bing.